You're muted. Oh,
Jacob, how's it going?
good. I should probably put the microphone somewhere near me.
That'll be good. Have you ever went by Jacobo?
Yes, in Spanish class, I always went by Jacobo.
Nice.
You can call me Jacob in any language you like, although I've always had a distaste for Jake. I never
Jake.
liked being called Jake,
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
that makes sense. I understand that. It might be hard for Jakes around the world here, but yeah,
It is the days of awe. Are you in awe?
Yamim Noraim.
Yamim Noraim. Yeah.
Yeah, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, Gamar Chatima Tova. Yeah. This Shabbat is Shabbat Shabbaton, Yom HaKippurim.
It's a big Shabbat.
It is a big Shabbat. It is the biggest of Shabbats.
Mm-hmm.
The Torah itself calls it Shabbat Shabbaton.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
What's your coughing situation like?
I have a cough drop in my mouth, so I should be fine.
Okay, so you can work on it. I'll read it for now.
Okay.
Where are we, by the way?
We are chapter 4 of Kuntras Acharon, which means we're actually going to finish pretty soon.
That's pretty crazy.
It is, but this one's a really long one. We might switch halfway through if you get tired.
Interesting. Okay, let us see. And it's going to be an interesting one because the first quotation is from Pri Etz Chaim.
Yep.
אוקיי, להבין מה שכתוב בפרי עץ חיים. ובזמן הזה עיקר הבירור על ידי התפילה דווקא. So to understand the statement in Pri Etz Chaim, that in the contemporary period, the refinements of the sparks of Tohu, right? I guess there's a world of Tohu and a world of Tikkun. Is that what he's referring to? Okay.
Yes.
Is primarily affected by prayer. Okay. אף שתלמוד תורה למעלה מהתפילה. Even though Torah study is superior to prayer. העניין הוא שעל ידי תורה ומצוות מוסיפין אור באצילות וכו'. The explanation is that through Torah and mitzvot, additional light is drawn forth into Atzilut.
Yeah, the worlds of emanation, which is the highest of the 4 types of worlds.
Yeah. פירוש, אור אין סוף ברוך הוא בכלים דאצילות על ידי תלמוד תורה בפנימית, דיינו המשכת המוחין. This means that through Torah study, the infinite Ein Sof light is drawn into the inner aspect of the vessels of the Sfirot of Atzilut. This is a drawing down of the divine intellect. Okay. ובקיום המצוות, בחיצונית הכלים, שהם בחינות נצח הוד יסוד, שב10 ספירות זעיר אנפין שבאצילות. Through mitzvah observance, the light is drawn into the external aspect of the vessels, meaning netzach hod yesod of the 10 sfirot of zeir anpin, the 6 emotive attributes of Atzilut.
Yeah.
זה. רק שמתלבשים בבריאה יצירה עשייה בתורה ומצוות הגשמיים שבעולם הזה. They referring to the lights?
No, so the Torah and mitzvot. The drawing forth of the light. Yeah.
So they later only clothe themselves with diminished intensity in Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah in the physical Torah and mitzvot in this world.
Yep.
אבל התפילה היא המשכת אור אין סוף ברוך הוא לבריאה, יצירה, עשייה דווקא, לא בדרך התלבשות בלבד. Prayer, however, calls forth the infinite Ein Sof into Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah directly and not by means of mere enclothement. As is the case with the study of Torah, where the divine light is garbed in an entity, which in turn is drawn down into this world. So the entity being the action.
Yeah, the mitzvah that you do. So you put on tefillin. I don't know if you saw on Twitter the most Chabad thing in the world. Let me pull it up. This is worth taking some time.
Pausing on Tanya.
Yeah. Most Chabad thing in the world. Here, let me make it full screen. Yeah, that's Chabad for you.
Yep.
So he's doing a mitzvah. He's doing the mitzvah of tefillin, right?
Yeah.
And despite all the shtusim around him, right? If he's actually Jewish, hopefully, he is being mamshich or directly into Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah in a way that
doing the tefillah.
No, actually, so
Yeah.
he says tefillah brings it into.
Yeah.
It's the Torah and mitzvot. They're mosif or ein sof in Atzilut, which then becomes enclosed in the other worlds.
Yeah.
Whereas apparently tefillah is mamshich or all the way down in past the mesech, past the great break that there is between Atzilut and Bria.
Yeah.
All the way into the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah.
Okay. So, רק האור ממש לשנות הנבראים מכמות שהם. So that rather it is the actual light that modified the state of created beings. So this, as opposed to the, like you said, Torah mitzvot, that enclothed itself in the vessels. שיתרפא החולה וירד הגשם משמיים לארץ ויולידה ויצמיחה. So that the ill will.
I wouldn't usually take this, but I have to. Sorry.
Okay, go for it. So I guess I will say this to Jacob as well, but I guess this is why some people are so serious about reading Tehillim, Psalms, because it has power that goes, in some ways, goes even beyond a mitzvah, an action. So that's interesting. But otherwise, I have nothing else to say. So we'll just have to wait a little bit.
Sorry about that.
All good.
Okay.
So I was saying that I guess this is why people are so passionate and serious about reading Tehillim. Because it has power that...
Yeah, so Tehillim have a power of tikkun. I'm not sure that's the exact same as tefillah.
Okay.
Right? Because tefillah... So there's something special that goes on with tefillah, right? There's something particular with tefillah in that you are turning towards God and causing a change in creation, as if that's possible, right? You obviously can't create a change in HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, Ani Havaya Lo Shaniti, right? But through tefillah, you are actually changing creation itself.
Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what he says about this.
Yeah, I honestly am not sure if Tehillim is in the exact same category.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we do use Tehillim as like a big chunk of the tefillah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elijah, as always, throwing peanuts. Sounds like magic. The difference is that in tefillah we're and actually, so funny enough, if you watched the discussion between Pajot and Ben Shapiro, which was actually one of the better discussions I've listened to of either one of them.
Interesting. I haven't listened to, but maybe I will.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
They actually talk about the difference between magic and prayer. And he actually, so he's Shapiro's kind of a rationalist in terms of Maimonides. So yeah, that's actually something they talk about. But yeah, I mean, prayer. I made a video about this a long time ago. Maybe I should make a prayer about it again. I mean, a video about it again. You
should pray about it too.
Yeah, I should pray about it too. Yeah. Elijah says, "Nice try, but I won't be listening to Ben Shapiro." You can listen to Jonathan Pajot. But yeah, it's there definitely is an aspect where a misunderstanding of tefillah can become superstitious. But when done correctly, when we understand what it is, which is that it's causing a change in ourselves. And I mean, this might actually be a manifestation of what he says, which tefillah is mosif or in not in atzilut davka, right? Because atzilut is where we say ihu v'garmo hichad, right? The worlds of emanation are more pure divinity than is possible really in Bria Yetzira and Asya.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
אוקיי. שיתרפא החולה וירד הגשם משמיים לארץ ויולידה ויצמיחה. So that, for example, the ill will be cured through the petition and the Amida, and the rain from heaven will fall to the earth so that it becomes fertile and yields vegetation. In response to the other prayer in the Amida, that's about blessing for parnasa or ears. מה שאין כן בתורה ומצוות, שאין שינוי בקלף התפילין על ידי הנחתן בראש ובזרוע. This is not the case with Torah and mitzvot. No modification in the parchment on which are inscribed the biblical passages of the tefillin results from their being placed upon head and arm. וגם במצוות שעשייתן הוא גמר מצוותן. Even in the case of those mitzvot that are fulfilled through making the object. So like the sukkah.
Apparently.
Okay.
Well, writing a Torah scroll is probably even more of a clear one, yeah.
Yeah. השינוי הוא על ידי אדם ולא בידי שמיים כבתפילה. The change within the object is affected by man and not by heaven, as is the case with prayer. So the change with prayer happens with heaven, and the change with the mitzvot, or if we're thinking about a sukkah or a sefer Torah scroll, is created by man.
Yep.
שהיא המשכת החיות מאין סוף ברוך הוא שהוא לבדו כל יכול. For this calls forth the vivifying power from the infinite one, blessed be he, who alone is all capable. והיא לכך כדי להמשיך אור אינסוף ברוך הוא למטה, אי אפשר בלי העלאת מים נוקבין מלמטה דווקא. Therefore, calling forth the infinite Ein-Sof light into the lower world is impossible without the prior elevation of Mayin Nukbin, specifically from below. So we initiate something to get the response from above.
Yeah.
מה שאין כן לתלמוד תורה שבאצילות המיוחדת בלאו הכי במאציל ברוך הוא. This is not the case with the study of Torah, which affects Atzilut, for the Torah is united in any case with the emanator. So let's read this little note. Since Torah study does not need to be drawn down below, there is no need for an arousal from below. As the Rabbi notes, the Alter Rebbe now goes on to explain how this might be considered my nukmin and what its connection is to the infinite light. Okay. והעלאת מים נוקבין במוחו וליבו של אדם, וליבו של אדם, היא בחינת רשפי אש, בלי גבול, ונקראת מעודיך. The elevation of מים נוקבין in the mind and the heart of man is the love of God in a state of boundless flames of fire. As is described, and it also is described as מעודיך, from the Shema. כדי לעורר בחינת אין סוף, to arouse the divine state of infinity. Note, for the arousal from below, need but resemble
Yeah.
the response.
Yeah, keep on going.
For the arousal from below need but resemble the response from above that it seeks to elicit. So it needs to, I guess what they mean. If an arousal from below may truly be considered infinite relative to the particular individual's capacities, it suffices to draw down the infinite light from above. Okay.
Where are you reading?
This is the note.
This one?
No, the one above.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I lost you for a second. Sorry about that.
No problem. והיינו על ידי גבורות ד' סמך ג'.
No, the sag.
The
right?
sag.
Yeah. So sag is this, is it the 63?
גבורה, but I don't know what. It's fair. 288.
Oh, the
can't be,
is sag this. There's a divine name sag, which I am not very. Yeah, so there's Shem Ban and there's Shem Sag.
Okay.
Come on in. And yeah, this is specifically coming from the name Sag.
Okay. So I'll read this and maybe I'll read the note. והיינו לגבורות the sag שהן הרפ"ח. Hello.
He's the reason we've been interrupted so many times.
I see. Okay. שהן הרפ"ח ניצוצים וכולי. This is affected through the גבורות, the attributes of severity of the divine name Sag, which constitute 288 sparks. So if I read this note, the love and longing, the ratzu, which a man experiences during a prayer to the extent of Yodecha, with all your might, are aroused by the gvurot of Sag, the divine name that is the source of the 288 sparks of Tohu. These sparks derive from the vessels of Tohu, whose sfirot were originally in a state of infinite longing to become wholly one with God. This longing parallels the soul's love and longing for God to the point of me'odecha. Okay. ולכן נקראת התפילה חיי שעה. היא מלכות היורד בבריאה יצירה עשייה. For this reason, worship is called life of the moment, for it is malchut descending into bria, yetzira, and asiya. Chayei Shah, where is this from?
Apparently it's a Rashi.
It's a Rashi.
Yeah. Let's read this. No.
As Rashi explains, as a straightforward level of pshat, the Talmud calls prayer life of the moment, literally life of the hour, because people pray for health, peace, and livelihood, things they need right now. Temporal things, right? Here, the Alter Rebbe speaks of how these matters exist in their source, in the supernal sfirot, in the worlds above, the Sfirah of Malchut is the source of time. For it is the Sfirah of Malchut, sovereignty, that reflects the relationship of the Infinite One to time. He reigns, he reigned, he will reign. Malach.
Hashem Malach, Hashem Melech, Hashem Yimloch L'olam Va'ed, right?
In the present, past, and future. This relationship is particularly evident as Malchut descends to animate the worlds of Bri'ah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. For these worlds all exist in the category of time. And because prayer draws down divine energy into Bri'ah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah through their source, the time-related Sfirah of Malchut, prayer, is called life of the moment.
Interesting. Yeah. And the Yamim Noraim, that's why the tefillot change during Yamim Noraim. We
Hamelech.
Hamelech, yeah. We refer to God as the king, right? And so it's particularly appropriate that we're talking about this right now.
Yeah. Torah, what is it called? Chaye Olam, hu Za'ir Anpin. Torah, by contrast, is called eternal life, which in terms of the Sfirot is Za. כי רמ"ח פיקודין אין מתחלקים ב10 כלים, ב10 ספירות, דזעיר אנפין, וכולי. For the 248 commandments of the Torah divide into the 10 vessels of the 10 sfirot of Za. Those are, the 248 are the Aseh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
והנה, מקום אחד, כתב שמצוות, שרמ"ח מצוות עשה, הן ב5 חסדים. Now in one source it is written,
okay,
or Torah, that the 248 positive commandments are rooted in the 5 attributes of kindness, of Zeh, of Atzilut. For every positive command serves as a vessel to receive an expression of the kindly attributes and a calling forth of divinity. ושסה לא תעשה ב5 גבורות וכו'. And the 365 prohibitions are rooted in the 5 attributes of severity. גבורה. Okay, ובמקום אחר, wait, what is this? Okay, let's read the note. The gvurot, the attributes of severity, reflect the divine thrust to self-concentration and limitation. The prohibitory commands thus derive from them, since the intent of these commands is to withhold the efflux of holiness from klipot. You see? ובמקום אחר כתב שהן תרי"ג ערכין נמשכין מחד ערכה וכולי. שהוא לבנונית וכולי. Elsewhere it is written that there are 613 paths that derive from one path, which is the Levanonit. Lavnunit. The benevolent, pristine whiteness of the supernal Keter. Okay. Do I want to read this now?
Yeah.
This level includes no element of severity at all. As the Zohar states there is no left in Atik. There is no element of Gvura in the internal level of Keter. There is only Chesed. We thus seem to have a compound contradiction. We have just stated here that the 248 positive commandments stem from the vessels of the 10 Sfirot of Zah. The Zohar states that the 248 positive commandments stem from the 5 Chasadim, the attributes of kindness, of Zah, while the 365 prohibitory commands stem from the 5 Gvurot, attributes of Zah. And the Zohar states elsewhere that the commandments derive from the Levnunit of the supernal Keter, where attributes of severity do not exist at all. Okay, so we're going to try to resolve that, or he's going to try to resolve that. אך העניין, שכל המצוות לתקן רמ"ח איברי זעיר אנפין, על ידי המשכת אור אין סוף ברוך הוא במוחין הכלולין 5 חסדים ו5 גבורות. The explanation is, all the mitzvot are designed to rectify the 248 organs of Zah by drawing the infinite Ein Sof light into the divine intellect as incorporated within the 5 attributes of kindness and 5 attributes of severity. In mortal men too, by way of analogy, one's intellectual decisions are commonly swayed by a natural leaning to kindness or severity. So, since the purpose of mitzvot is to repair the 248 organs of Zah, it is true to say that mitzvot are rooted in the vessels of the sfirot that constitute Zah. Since the repair is accomplished through drawing the infinite light into the divine intellect that is housed, in the 5 attributes of kindness and the 5 attributes of severity. It is also sometimes said that the mitzvot themselves are rooted in the 5 attributes and the 5 attributes of severity.
Because the point of the mitzvot is tikkun of the Ramach Havarim, then that's why in one place it refers to them either coming from the 5 attributes of kindness or the 5 attributes of severity based on that particular person's
like intellectual, like
spiritual proclivity towards left or right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or at least how it's drawn down and is manifest in him. Okay. ומקור המוחין הוא לבנונית. The source of the divine intellect is the לבנונית of כתר. הוא העונג וחפץ העליון להמשיך האור למטה לרמ"ח איברים דזעיר אנפין, which is the supreme delight and desire to draw the light below into the 248 organs of Zah. ומתחלקת ההמשכה לתרי"ג המשכות פרטיות לפי בחינת ערך המצוות. The light drawn forth divides into 613 individual streams according to the respective levels of the mitzvot. כגון בצדקה וגמילות חסדים, נמשך אור אין סוף ברוך הוא לחיצוניות הכלי דחסד דזעיר אנפין. For instance, through charity and kindly deeds, the infinite Ein Sof light is drawn into the external aspect of the vessel of the attribute of kindness of Zah.
So each mitzvah
has its source.
Really, it's not so much its source as its destination.
Right. Interesting. ובקיום הדינין בחיצונית גבורה וברחמים וכולי. While through observing mitzvot they are in the order of severity, the infinite light is drawn into the external aspect of severity of Zah with mercy. With mercy and so forth, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
in English it wasn't clear. ודרך ומעבר ההמשכה הוא על ידי פנימיות הכלים ומוחתן. The path and passage of the issuing light that is drawn into the external vessels of Zah is through the internal aspect of the vessels and their intellects. שאין דחילו ורחימו שכליים או טבעיים, which are in terms of a Jew's service, awe and love, either intellectually generated or innate. שהן בחינות מוחין דקטנות וגדולות. These
attributes וגדלות.
קטנות וגדלות.
Yeah, מוחין דקטנות, מוחין של קטנות, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can have major or minor mochin. Hopefully, usually you have major, but it can be minor.
So the minor divine intellect corresponds to innate love and fear of God, while the major divine intellect corresponds to the love and fear of God that are born of meditation.
Yeah.
So this is always like, so you're saying this is always true, like that's definition.
Right. Yeah. So we talk about having mochen the katnut or mochen the gadlut, right? So your your thoughts can be manifest either in an active, right, love and awe of God,
right,
or a more passive and natural one that you are not necessarily so aware of.
ולזה ביקש משה רבנו עליו השלום מאוד לקיים המצוות המעשיות התלויות בארץ. This is the reason for Moses' fervent plea to fulfill the active mitzvot that are contingent on the land. It can only be fulfilled in the Holy Land. שהן תכלית ההשתלשלות. For these practical mitzvot are the ultimate purpose of השתלשלות. להמשיך אור אינסוף ברוך הוא לברר הכלים דזעיר אנפין דבריאה יצירה עשייה שבהן הן הרפ"ח ניצוצים. To call forth the infinite Ensof light in order to refine the vessels of Zeh, of Zah, of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, in which are located the 288 sparks.
And just to explain the 288 sparks, the Arizal explains in Genesis 1 that it talks about Ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim, right? He explains that the word merachefet is met rapach, meaning that in creation, at the shattering of the vessels, 288 sparks, rapach, died, in that they fell away into the klipot.
Right, and is this related to that's related to the shattering, or the?
Yeah, that is the shattering.
That's the shattering. Okay, I need to get my chair for my cat. So.
Okay.
But here's Bruce. He's not very happy right now.
I can see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Shadow, on the other hand, is just sleeping in her little condo. The valley of the shadow of death, I call it.
Right, yeah. Gaitz al Mavet.
Gates al Mavet, yeah.
Gaitz al Mavet, yeah, right. Here he is. Okay. Sorry, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on over here.
It's okay. It can't be worse than having Marcus around.
I don't have a Marcus in my house. Okay.
Dr. Marcus.
Dr. Marcus, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Professor Marcus, sorry.
Professor.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we?
We were talking about Rapach.
Right, so those are the 288 sparks.
Correct.
על ידי, על ידי תורה ומצוות מעשיות שבבריאה יצירה עשייה דווקא. So this refinement is affected exclusively through Torah study and mitzvot, requiring action in bria, yetzirah, and asiyah. Okay. והנה, לקיום מצווה שאי אפשר לעשות על ידי אחרים, מבטלים תלמוד תורה, ואפילו מעשה מרכבה. To perform a mitzvah that cannot be delegated to another, one forgoes Torah study, even the study of Maaseh Merkava, even the study of the Nistarot. וכל שכן שהיא בחינת מוחין ודחילו ורחימו שכליים. And beyond question, one forgoes prayer, which is the state of intellect and intellectually generated law and love. והטעם כנזכר לעיל. The reason is, as we have noted, that in order to extract and refine the sparks by means of the practical mitzvot, this is the purpose of creation. So we need to do that. We need to act in order to do that. ועוד זאת, שבאמת מאוד גדולה וגבוהה, So I guess maybe that's sorry. Let's that reminds me of the story. I guess that's the story about the Alter Rebbe too in Yom Kippur. Just coming up.
The famous story of the Alter Rebbe on Yom Kippur. You want to tell the famous story of the Alter Rebbe on Yom Kippur?
I'm good at presenting them, but you're good at telling.
Okay, I will tell the famous story of the Alter Rebbe on Yom Kippur. So this was a story when the Rebbe first spoke Basi Lagani, which was his inaugural speech as the seventh Lubavitcher Rebbe. He told a story about each of the Rebbeim to explain what was the most important part of the teachings of that particular Rebbe. And for the Alter Rebbe, told a story that he told a story that it was Yom Kippur, and the Alter Rebbe was wearing his talit and tefillin, and suddenly the Alter Rebbe decided to leave the synagogue and leave his not tefillin, sorry, on Yom Kippur, but leave his talit to go to a home in the outskirts of the town where there was a woman who was giving birth, and the Alter Rebbe went and chopped wood to make a fire to boil water for her to help her along with giving birth. Yeah. And so the obvious question becomes, okay, let's say somebody needed to chop wood. Does it have to be the Alter Rebbe? Does it have to be on Yom Kippur? And the answer is, this is what he's saying. This is it's a mitzvah, right? Mm-hmm. And I have to add the nekuda that Maimonides says that when there's a mitzvah to be mechalel Shabbat, we specifically, the rabbis undertake to do it themselves so that people understand that it's not that we're making any sort of compromise, that this he Torah, this is the halacha. This is the halacha, and since it is the halacha that in this situation you should be chopping wood and making a fire and boiling water on Shabbat, right? Yeah. On Yom Kippur even, then obviously the Alter Rebbe felt in this particular situation that he needed to be the one who did this mitzvah.
Right.
And in fact, I mean, he was teaching Torah in doing such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. אוקיי, ועוד זאת, שבאמת מאוד גדלה וגבעה מעלת המצוות מעשיות, וכן לימודם, על מעלת המוחין שהן דחילו ורחימו שכלים. In addition, indeed, the standing of the practical mitzvot and their study far transcends the standing of intellect, meaning intellectually generated awe and love. כי הגם דכתיב, ולדבקה בו על ידי מידותיו. For though the verse declares to cleave and to cleave to him, i.e. through cleaving to his attribute midot, to his midot, מכל מקום, איננו דבק אפילו במידות העליונות, אלא במציאותן ולא במהותן. Still, one does not cleave to the essence of the supernal attributes, but only to the externality of their existence. כמו שכתוב, ואנוכי עפר ואפר. As it is written, I am dust and ashes. That was stated by Avram. וכל שכן באור אינסוף ברוך הוא, דלית מחשבה תפיסה בה, באורו ובהתפשטות החיות ממנו יתברך. This is all the more true with regard to the infinite Ein Sof life, for no thought can apprehend him in his radiance or the diffusion of the life force issuing from him. כי אם במציאותו שהוא
שמחיה.
שמחיה. I don't know why I didn't read that. That's very weird. כי אם במציאותו הוא שהוא שמחיה, maybe that way. שהוא שמחיה את כולם ולא במהותו. One can only grasp his existence, that he gives life to all, but not his essence. אפילו לעליונים, כמו שכתוב, קדוש, 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 השם צבאות וכו'. This applies even to the supernal beings that praise that he is holy, holy, holy 3 times above them, Lord of hosts. לבד עלולים הנאצלים, משיגים כל אחד בעילתו. Only emanated effects can conceive their cause.
Right. It's through the fact that there is the causation that we're able to perceive that there is a cause.
Right. Okay. So it's like when the teacher asks you to show me how you like the math.
Show me your work.
Show me how you did it. Like, don't just show me that. I don't know.
Yes, but in a sense, by looking at the work, right, you can tell, yes, that person actually knows what they're doing. Yes.
Right. כפי הסדר שבעץ חיים בהתלבשות הפרצופים. According, I guess this is according to the order recounted in Etz Chaim concerning the investment of the visages.
Yeah, visages.
פרצופים. אבל לא בנבראים אפילו בנשמות האצילות. This is not the case with created beings, even with the souls of Atzilut. Let's read this note. Though the souls of Atzilut are divinity, still, since they have become sundered from the vessels of the 10 Sfirot, as explained above in Epistle 20, they are termed created beings and are unable to apprehend the essence of godliness. כמו שכתוב במשה רבנו עליו השלום, וראית את אחוריי וכו'. Thus it is written regarding Moses, God telling him, you will see my hinder part, an external manifestation. Right, the metziut instead of the ma'ut. So let's read this now, both. Thus, through the vision of his soul alone, as the soul gazes upon God without the benefit of mitzvot, even Moses could apprehend no more than externality, not essence. So the performance of mitzvot, however, as the Alter Rebbe will now explain, connects a Jew with the essence of divinity. When he holds an etrog, together with the other 3 kinds of vegetation, and fulfills the mitzvah of the 4 species, on Sukkot, he is holding on to the essence of divinity, and so too with regard to all the practical mitzvot. Isn't there a joke about a chassid that holds the I don't know. There's like, I think I remember some kind of joke of like that if you see a chassid like holding a etrog and the lulav, and they go crazy with it, like, is it like, it's like very, I don't know.
Well, did you see the movie? There was a movie they made about a guy who
Israeli?
It was an Israeli movie in Hebrew.
Ushpizin, maybe I never seen it.
Yeah. Oh, it was a good movie.
I know. I need to see it.
Yeah, I watch it. He spends the rent money on an etrog.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, especially this year, since the first day of Sukkot falls on a weekday. The first day there's a mitzvat aseh mideoraita. It's not midirabanan. So especially if anybody, I mean, obviously we should always every day of the of Sukkot we should shake lulav and etrog, but specifically on the first day, it is a mitzvat aseh deoraita.
Interesting. Okay. מה שאין כן מעשה המצוות, מעשה אלוקים המה. As to the preference of mitzvot, these are the works of God. Unlike other worldly actions from which divinity is utterly concealed, the Alter Rebbe now explains how this comes about. Okay. הנה בדרך השתלשלות מכלים דאצילות לבריאה, יצירה ועשייה, ממהותן ועצמותן דחיצוניותן. In the process of the chain of descent from the vessels of Atzilut to Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. For the vessels of Atzilut to descend into these worlds are the divinity of these worlds. From the very nature and essence of their external aspect, as for example within the etrog and its kinds, הלביש בהן הקדוש ברוך הוא ממהותן ועצמותן לחסדים פנימיים דזעיר אנפין. The Holy One, blessed be He, clothed it as something of the very nature and essence of the internal attributes of kindness of Zah. והיינו מבחינת חיצוניותן, meaning from their outward state, the external aspect of the internal attributes. כנודע בכל מצוות מעשיות, as is known in the case of all mitzvot requiring action. מה שאין כן האדם, אפילו יש לו נשמה דאצילות. Man, by contrast, who by means of his intellect or in his spiritual emotions can attain intellectually generated love and fear, even he possesses a soul of Atzilut. מאחר שמלובשת בגוף.
Even if he possesses a soul of Atzilut.
Even if, even he.
Yeah, not everybody's soul is from Atzilut.
Right, even if he possesses soul Atzilut. מאחר שמלובשת בגוף, yet, since it is clothed in a body, לא יוכל למצוא בנפשו ולהשיג מהותן ועצמותן של פנימית החסדים דזעיר אנפין דאצילות. He cannot detect and apprehend through his soul and the nature and essence of the inward attributes of kindness of Zah of Atzilut. כי האצילות היא בחינת חיה בכללות העולמות אצילות בריאה יצירה עשייה. For in general terms, the Atzilut represents the state of Chaya, in terms of the levels of the soul. Mm-hmm. In the four worlds of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Chaya, is it Chaya the highest level or no, Yechida?
Actually, go ahead and read the thing and yeah.
Wait, the note?
The note, yeah.
Specifically, each of the four worlds possesses all four soul levels of Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and Chaya. In a general sense, however, each of these four worlds corresponds to one of these levels. Asiyah corresponds to Nefesh, Yetzirat Ruach, Briat Neshama, and Atzilut corresponds to Chaya. Yeah. But what about Yechida?
Yechida is beyond the worlds. Yechida is already, you're talking about Ak.
Yeah. Okay. שהיא בחינת מקיף מלמעלה ואינה מתלבשת בכלי כלל. And Chaya denotes encompassing transcendence, not being vested within any vessel whatsoever. Right, so it's usually, right, like you have the three levels, and then beyond them is Chaya and then Yechida. But like you said, Yechida is like...
Well, I mean, the world of Atzilut is already, I mean, it's beyond Bria, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's why.
There's a qualitative difference between Bria and Atzilut, and then between Atzilut and whatever is...
Yeah, that's even,
כי אם מציאותן, על ידי דחילו ורחימו שכליים, with regard to the internal attributes of kindness, of Zah, man is able to apprehend only their existence through intellectually generated awe and love. intellectually generated alone love. Interesting. ומה שכתוב, וראית את אחוריי, הוא בדרך נבואת דווקא. As to the statement, you shall see my hinder part, this refers only to prophecy. שהוא התפשטות הגשמיות, כמו שכתוב בראיה מאמנה, פרשת משפטים. For prophecy entails divestment of the physical, as is explained in Raya Me'emna, Parashat Mishpatim. I assume the Zohar. Sorry?
Yeah, Raya Mahemna is from the Zohar.
והיינו הטעם לפי שאי אפשר לנברא להשיג כלום במהות האלוקות, שהוא הבורא. This then is the reason. No created being is capable of grasping anything whatsoever of the essence of divinity, the creator. ובלי השגה אין זו הלבשה ותפיסה ודבקות אמיתית. And without comprehension, there is no real investiture or grasping or cleaving. מה שאין כן, האתרוג על דרך משל, חיותו נמשכה ונשתלשלה ממהות חיצונית דקלים דנוקבה דזעיר אנפין דאצילות. However, as to the etrog, by way of example, its life is drawn and descends from the very essence of the outer aspects of the vessels of nukba, of ze, of atzilut, שהוא בחינת אלוקות, which is truly a state of divinity, כמו שכתוב בעץ החיים, שכל הפירות הן באצילות, as is stated in עץ החיים, that all the fruits are rooted in atzilut. It just drops these like random things that you're
like, this is, yeah.
כי למד with 30. Oh, okay, yeah, למד 30. כי למד כלים דאצילות ירדו לבריאה יצירה עשייה. For the 30 vessels of Atzilut descended into בריאה יצירה and עשייה. והן יוד 10 מאמרות שבהם נברא העולם. And these are the 10 utterances by which the world was created. על ידי התלבשות בנוקבה דעשייה מהות במהות. Through enclosement in the nukba of Asiyah, essence in essence. Okay. כי הכלים דאצילות נהסו נשמה בעשייה, שהיא בחינת אלוקות ממש. For the vessels of Atzilut became the soul of Asiyah, which is actually a state of divinity. For the vessels of Atzilut became the soul of Asiyah, which is actually a state of divinity.
So, I mean, this is something you have constantly in Tanya, is he teaches you how to see things in two seemingly contradictory ways at once.
Yeah.
Right? So we have this idea that obviously Mahut of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is beyond anything that can even be perceived by an neshama of Atzilut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, there's an investiture of the kelim of Atzilut into Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, which is Elokut Mamash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
divinity.
Yeah, and so like you have to be able to keep both of these ideas in mind at the same time.
Right. Yeah, the transcendence and immanence at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. אוקיי. לפי שבאצילות היהו וגרמוי חד, המאציל והנאצל. For in Atzilut, he and his vessels are one, the emanator, the infinite light, and the emanation, the vessels of Atzilut. ועל ידי התלבשות מהות הנשמה במהות הכלים דנוקבה דעשייה, נתאווה האתרוג. And through the enclosements of the essence of the soul of the vessels of Atzilut, in the essence of the vessels of Nukba of Asiyah, the etrog came into being.
Yeah, just 1 second.
יואי, וגרמו אחד.
Go ahead.
אוקיי. נמצא כשתופס האתרוג ומנענעו כהילכתו. The result is that in holding the etrog and waving it, as the law requires, הרי זה תופס ממש חיותו המלובש בו מנוקבה דאצילות. One is actually holding the life force which is clothed within it and which derives from the nukba of Atzilut. המיוחדת באור אין סוף המאציל ברוך הוא. And Malchut is united with the infinite Ein Sof light, the emanator of Tzilut, blessed be he. מה שאין כן בכוונתו. This is not the case concerning one's intention while performing the mitzvah of the etrog. With the intention בלבד, אינו משיג ותופס, אף היודע הסוד, אלא מציאותה ולא מהותה. Here, even if he is familiar with the mystical, Kabbalistic, and Hasidic meanings involved, he does not grasp and hold on to the essence of Malchut Atzilut, but only to the external fact of its mere existence. It reminds me, like the joke that you told me last week about Gozim.
Oh, yeah.
I told it in my synagogue. I don't think I told it well. I don't know how they received it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a prototypically misnagdish word.
No, I told him it's. Yeah. I think I didn't embody the contempt that you need to.
Well, I mean, it's not real contempt. It's
right, but I mean that's the joke. There's like
okay, you know what else is gematria chet? Chet?
Yeah. Anyway. אך בלימוד הלכות אתרוג משיג ותופס האתרוג ממש מצוותו כהלכה מבחינת דיבור ומחשבה. However, by studying the laws of the etrog, one does attain and grasp the etrog proper and its mitzvah appropriately by speech and thought. Right? וכל שכן הלומד הסוד. Even more so, he who studied the esoteric dimension of the mitzvah. אבל דווקא סודות המצווה. This, however, refers only to the study of the Kabbalistic mysteries of the mitzvah itself. For this is not inferior to the study of its laws, indeed, quite the contrary. Even though he does not apprehend the essence of the spiritual intent of the mitzvah. It does not apply to the study of the order of Ishtalshalut. Even if one does comprehend the external aspect, this is not intrinsically as worthy as the study of the laws of the mitzvot, where one comprehends and grasps their essence. Moreover, the study is considered in certain cases the equivalent of actual performance. As it is written, this is the law of the burnt offering and the meal offering.
So he's making clear that we're not Gnostics. It's more important if you are going to study the Kabbalistic meanings. It's more important to understand how they relate to actually mitzvot ma'asiyot than talking about seder hishtalshalut and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right. כמו שכתוב, וידעת היום כולי. Thus it is written, know this day.
You skipped אלא שיודעים.
I did. אלא שידיעת המציאות מההשתלשלות. היא גם כן מצווה רמה ונישאה ואדרבה עולה על כולנה. However, the knowledge of the existence of השתלשלות is also a lofty and exalted mitzvah. Indeed, it outweighs them all.
It's because it's ultimately mitzvat hamanat elokut.
כמו שכתוב, וידעת היום וכולי. Thus it is written, know this day that the Lord is God. דע את אלוקי אביך וכולי. And know the God of your father. ומביאה ללב שלם וכולי. Moreover, this Knowing leads to a whole heart. Shehu Aikar. And this is the essential thing. The wholehearted awe of God is the ultimate purpose of all the commandments. והשגת המציאות הוא להפשיט מגשמיות וכולי. The comprehension of existence entails divesting this subject of any physicality. רק שזוהי מצווה אחת מתרי"ג. However, this mitzvah of knowing God and apprehending divinity is but one mitzvah of 613. והאדם צריך לקיים כל תרי"ג. And a man must fulfill all 613. לפי שהן השתלשלות המהות כלים דאצילות. For they descend from the essence of the external aspect of the vessels of אצילות. לכך צריך להרבות בלימוד כל התרי"ג וקיומן בפועל ממש במחשבה, דיבור ומעשה שהן בריאה, יצירה, עשייה. Hence one must extensively study all 613 mitzvot and hence fulfill them in actual practice, in thought, speech, and deed, which parallel בריאה, יצירה, and עשייה respectively. לברר בירורין אשר שם, in order to purify whatever needs purification in all these worlds. Mm-hmm. Do you want to take it from here?
Sure. ועוד זאת, so in addition to all of this, שבאמת הבירורים שבבריאה, יצירה, עשייה, מרפח על ידי תורה ומצוות, במחשבה, דיבור ומעשה. For the truth is that the purification of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah of the 288 sparks of Tohu by means of Torah and mitzvot that are done through thought, speech, and action, gavohim beshorshan menefesh ruach neshama shebe'adam, are superior in their source because they come from Tohu, to the nefesh ruach neshama of man, ki hen misag shebifnimit adam kadmon, for they derive from the divine name Sag of the internal aspects of Adam Kadmon. ונפש רוח נשמה שכבר נתקנו על ידי מה הוא יוצא מהמצח הערה בעלמא. While the nefesh ruach neshama that has already been corrected through the divine name Ma issues from the forehead of Adam Kadmon, being a mere reflection of it, but not of its essence. The divine names Sag and Ma are two of the four names that echo the varying numerical values, which result when the names of the four letters that comprise the Shem Havaya are spelled out in any of the four different ways. For example, one possible spelling entails repeated use of the letter Vav, while another possible spelling entails the repeated use of the letter Aleph. When the Hebrew names of the four letters Yud and He and Vav and He are written out with the full complement, Milui, of the letter Vav, the numerical equivalent of the letters used totals 63. So that's the Shem Sag. When it is written with the full complement of the letter Aleph, the numerical equivalent of the letters used is 45, which is Shema.
Right.
The Kabbalah explains how the name Sag is related to the world of Tohu, while the name Ma is related to the world of Tikkun, which is inferior to it. The Alter Rebbe is thus stating here that the purifications of the action-related mitzvot find their source in the divine name Sag, that derives from the internal aspect of Adam Kadmon, the primal divine thought of creation that encompasses all subsequent stages and levels of creation. By contrast, since the souls of Jews derive from the world of tikkun, literally correction, the nefesh or ruach or neshama is of a level at which it was already corrected by means of the Shema, and this name is but a glimmer that derives from the forehead of Adam Kadmon. Got it?
I got it. When he talked about the gematria, I got it. Beyond that,
What can I say? Ein lanu esek b'nistarot. We're just reading, and we understand what we understand, and we don't understand what we don't understand, and
That's
it is what it is.
now I get it. Why when I told the rabbi that I'm going through that we're almost done, we're going through
Contrast.
Ikuntras Achron, he went, oh really? Okay.
We're going through it. Nobody said we understand what we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
V'zehu shekatuv lifnei meloch melech. Hence, it is written before a king ruled over the children of Israel. V'hainu taima the shaha adam chai b'mezonot domem tzomeach chai umevaran b'ma shabo. For this reason, man is sustained by food of inorganic, vegetative, and living classes, and purifies them by the ma, that which is within them. V'chai bahem, and he lives through them. Lefi shehem mesag, because these things derive from sag. However, it is not paradoxical that man who is so far superior, is it not paradoxical that man who is so far superior to the inorganic, vegetative, and living classes should derive his substance from them? The teachings of Chassidut find the answer in the verse, not on bread alone does a man live, but on all that comes forth from God's mouth does a man live. Kol matzeh piv Hashem.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the physical vegetative bread alone that sustains man, but the creative divine utterance that is found within the bread. However, since man is provided with his ongoing existence by his own creative divine utterance, let us make man, why does he need to be sustained by the creative word that sustains vegetative growth, or for that matter, the inorganic and living classes of existence? The answer lies in the fact that the creative utterance that animates bread derives from a loftier source, the world of Tohu, than the source of the creative utterance that animates man himself, the world of Tikkun. In terms of the divine name, Sag transcends Ma. Va'odzot. Furthermore, Kamo shekatuv ufanai lo yerau, you cannot see my innermost dimension. Shepnimit ha'elyon eina yachol liyered lamata, because the inward aspects of divinity can't be revealed below. Rak chitzoniuto ubechinat achoraim shehu novlot chochma ila'a. But only the external aspect and the hinder part, which are the withered vestige of the supreme wisdom. The odzot, another point. Shaharei hadibur medivrei chochma ila'a eino molid. Shaharei hadibur medivrei chochma ila'a eino molid. For verbalizing any phrase of the supreme wisdom does not procreate. Imparting wisdom does not create any being ex nihilo. V'hatipa shenimshacha mehakeli dechokma ila'a yesh ba koach hamolid umahave yesh me'ayin.
How is that different?
So so it is the outer aspect of your knowledge of your
Kli.
chokhmah,
Okay, yeah.
which creates the germ which can create a child,
Right, right. And so the vessel, okay. The kli,
right?
it נקרא
As,
מהכלי.
yeah,
Right.
as opposed to you have a brilliant idea and you like, that's not yesh me'ayin.
Yeah.
Whereas the child is yesh me'ayin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. V'gam hamshacha chokhmah ila'a kilaba. Also a flow of the supernal wisdom and illumination, which is paralleled by a person's capacity for wisdom, is incorporated within it. V'hata mipnei sheba nimshach mahuta v'atzmuta the chokhmah ila'a. The reason is that into it there is drawn the essence and nature of the supreme wisdom, ma she'ein ken bedibur machshava, which is not true of thought and speech. Va'afilu behaskalat hasechel be'eza chokhmah, and even in understanding something, hare chokhmah zo rak ha'ara mitpashetet memahut hasechel shebenefesh va'atzmuto. Right? This is only a reflection that extends from the essence of intellect in the soul. Va'ara he rak levush lamahuto va'atzmuto shel hasechel. It's only a garment of that, the essence of the intellect. Va'sechel hu ha'ara levush lamahuta hanefesh. And the intellect is itself a garment and a reflection of the nefesh. Masha ein ken hatipa. When we talk about the chitzoniut of chokhmah, right? Nimshach ba gam mimahut hanefesh va'atzmuta hamelubeshet b'mochin, right? It includes the very essence of the soul, which is clothed within the brain. V'lachen molid bedome la mamash. Therefore, you have a child that looks like you. Can you believe it? וזהו ההפרש בין עבודת המלאכים היוצאים מן נשיקין להנשמות היוצאים מהכלים. Right? That's the difference between angels, which are born from nishikin, the spiritual aspect referred to as a kiss,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to that which comes from the kelim, that comes from the vessels. However, the vessels of Atzilut become the soul of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. V'hilkach t'chilu chimu sichli'im hem malachim deneshikin meha'arat chitzonit t'chochma bina da'at bebria Yetzirah Asiyah. Therefore, intellectual love and awe are comparable to the angels that issue from Neshikin, which irradiates only the external aspects of Chabad in Bria Yetzirah and Asiyah. V'hata'am mishum the pnimit chokhmah bina da'at u'mahuto v'atzmuto shel or pnimi eino yachol leitgalot ela al yedei ha'arat hakelim davka hayordin lamata. Because the inner aspects can't be revealed, it has to be through the outer, the radiance of the vessels that descend below. Like the germ. As it is written, you cannot see the innermost aspect. Uvar mean called den. Besides all of that, afilu beneshama de'atzilut, af shehi mikelim de'atzilut. Right? Even a soul that comes all the way from Atzilut, even since it derives from the vessels of Atzilut. L'chen benefesh ruach mikelim de'yetzirah asiyah. Right? Equally in the case of nefesh ruach, which derive from the vessels of Yetzirah asiyah. Hine rechimu ulai tzarich lihiyot dechilu rechimu sichliim שלהם מעוררים גם כן בכלים דיצירה עשייה בחינת העלה ממטה למעלה בהתערותא דלתתא. Their intellectual fear and love, which themselves are a mode of elevation, also arouse in the vessels of Yetzirah Asiyah a state of upward elevation through an arousal initiated from below. וזהו בחינת הסתלקות לבד חס ושלום. However, this is a state of departure alone, God forbid. The effect on the vessels is that they depart upward and do not fulfill their purpose. Just as love and fear that do not descend into expressions in mitzvot are also in a state of elevation and departure, when love and fear do descend into mitzvot, they enhance the effect of the mitzvot in drawing down divine light. Again, we're not Gnostics. Ava בחינת המשכה מלמעלה למטה הוא על ידי מצוות מעשיות דווקא להמשיך אור בכלים, right? Because the drawing down of the light through practical mitzvot, right? It draws the light into the kelim, into the vessels. It's a revelation of godliness. ובחיצונית הכלים דווקא, and specifically the external aspects of the vessels. שחיצוניות העליון יורד למטה ופנימיות התחתון עולה למעלה. That the external aspect of the superior level descends, while the internal aspect of the inferior level rises. As created beings thus experience an upward directed longing for the divine, divinity descends into this world. וזהו שכתוב בזוהר פרשת פיקודי הנזכר לאל דאית סידורה. That's what the Zohar means when it says that there is an order of elevation and an order of descent. ושתיהן צורך גבוה העלה והמשכה. Both are needed for the divine purpose, the elevation and the elicitation. Interesting, elicitation, okay? על ידי העלת מים נוקבין מסג בבחינת עובדה מילולה. By the elevation of מים nukvin from the divine name Sag, that is accomplished by the elevation of the sparks by deed and speech. וזהו תכלית ההשתלשלות להתגלות or עליון למטה. And this is the ultimate purpose of the downward progression of all the various worlds, that the supernal light be revealed below. ולא לעלות התחתון למעלה שזה אינו אלא לפי שעה. And not this inferior level of elevating that which is below, because that's only a momentary one, right? ואף גם זאת דווקא עליות הכלים לאורות עליונים היא מעלת השבת ויום הכיפורים. There we go, this year. And not that the inferior level be elevated, for this elevation can only be momentary. And even so, when an elevation is necessary, this involves not the ascent of the light, for that would be a move towards departure, but specifically an elevation of the vessels towards the supernal lights. This is the specific quality of Shabbat and Yom Kippur, at which time there's an elevation of the worlds, Aliyat HaOlamot, where the vessels are in a state of elevation towards the supernal lights. Aval lo aliyot vehistalkut haorot chas v'shalom kamo shekatuv b'pri Etz Chaim, but not the elevation and departure of the lights, God forbid, as is written in Pri Etz Chaim. ונפש רוח נשמה של האדם לגבי גופו בעולם הזה חשיבה כאורות לגבי כלים. The nefesh ruach neshama of a man relative to his physical body in this world are considered as lights relative to the vessels. וכן תחילו רחימו שכליים לגבי מצוות מעשיות דווקא. So too our intellectual fear and love relative to mitzvot of action. ולכן התפלל משה רבנו עליו השלום תפילות כמניין ואת חנן על קיום מצוות מעשיות דווקא. So we see that Moshe Rabbeinu, there's the parsha named Va'et Hanan, and the rabbis say it is called Va'et Hanan because Moshe prayed 515 times to be allowed into the Holy Land, which is when God told him stop, right? V'hu hadin ledibur gashmi shel hilchotehen. So too, as regards the physical utterance of their laws, ach lahavin ech ha'edrog shehu merapach shelo nivreru adayin v'chen klaf hatefilin. But let us now understand. Okay, so just to kind of review what we just said is you have a human being who is from the world of tikkun, and he derives nourishment from the world of tohu. Through his action of the mitzvot, he is causing an elevation down below. He's taking these kelim, these vessels, right? And he's using them to reveal godliness in the world of tikkun.
Right.
Which has a special quality which is beyond frankly anything else. I mean, he's explaining the whole ma'aseh mitzvot, why it is so important to do mitzvot in this world. והוא הדין הדיבור אך להבין איך האתרוג שהוא מרפח שלא נבראו עדיין וכן קלף התפילין. To understand how an etrog, which derives from the 288 sparks that have not yet been refined, right? Since this physical fruit derives its life force from klipat noga, it contains some element of the 288 sparks of tohu, which have not yet been elevated to divinity. Similarly, by this, the parchment scroll of tefillin. Yamshich or bekelim dezer anpin v'nukba de'atzilut, shekavar nivreru v'nitkenu al yedei shema lihiot bechinat elokut. How can it be that these can elicit light into the vessels of Zer Anpin and Nukva of Atzilut that have already been purified and rectified through the Shema, so that they are in a state of godliness? Hine hamashal lezeh hi hazriya v'hanetiya. The allegory to understand this is planting and sowing and planting. שהגרעין מעורר כוח הצומח שבארץ, that this seed stimulates the capacity of growth within the material from the soil. שהוא דבר השם תדשה הארץ חולה עץ פרי חולה, right? Which that pattern comes from God's commandment that there should be such things. This is through the elevation of the Mayin Nukvin to its source. Kacha me'orin haklaf va'etrog ad rum ma'alot hamalot shehu shem sag shelifnei hashvira. In a similar manner, this parchment of tefillin and the etrog arouse into the loftiest of levels this name sag, which precedes and transcends the shattering of the vessels. Shehu mahut va'atzmut orot sheba Adam Katmon, which is the very essence of the lights of Adam Katmon. Velo ha'ara ba'alma kamo shem ma shemimitzcho. And this is not merely a reflection, which is as in the Shem Ma, which comes from the forehead of Adam Kadmon, and similarly by learning the laws of these mitzvot, מעורר בחינת חוכמה בינה דעת שבעשר ספירות הכלים דזר אנפין ונוקבה. He arouses the Chabad of the 10 Sfirot of the vessels of Zer Anpin and Nukva. Va'ad rum hama'alot gamken bechinat chokhma bin da'at shebasag the plimit adam kadmon hayotze derech ha'einayim. So upward to the greatest heights, including the Chabad of Sag, of the inner dimension of Adam Kadmon issuing through the eyes of Adam Kadmon. Eyes signifying sight denote an inner and essential level of divinity, unlike the external aspect denoted by forehead. In summary, practical mitzvot performed with physical objects arouse their source onto the loftiest of levels, into the divine name Sag, onto the divine name Sag, the level that transcends the breaking of the vessels. This is also true with regard to studying the laws of these mitzvot. Study likewise affects an elevation to this lofty level, for the study of mitzvah is likened to the actual performance. What, however, happens when one studies the laws of prohibitory commands? One cannot say that this study is regarded as if he performed the mitzvah, particularly so with regard to those instances that do not occur in practice at all. For with regard to those that can occur, we at least say that if one remains passive and does not transgress, he is rewarded as if he had performed a positive commandment. However, when the relevant opportunity does not occur at all, this obviously does not apply. Yet despite all this, it was stated above that one should study the laws to an even greater extent than one studies the order of Hishtalshalut, even though a study of the latter leads to a love and fear of God. The Alter Rebbe now addresses this issue, explaining that there's a certain aspect of Torah study that is common to both positive and negative commandments. Simply studying a subject, even if it has no practical application, binds the individual to supernal wisdom, in as much as this is the source from which all the detailed laws emanate.
So how much more do we have? Because I might need to.
It's a bit.
It's a bit. So we might have to.
Yeah. You wanna stop here?
Yeah, I might need to stop.
Okay.
It might be a good place.
Yes, if we can actually find where we
But
stop.
Kaniskar La'ayl.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it was Kaniskar La'ayl after the big note.
Yeah. The Kol Haniskar La'ayl, right? Yeah. So that's where we are. Kol Haniskar La'ayl, and we will continue with the second half of chapter 4.
So yeah, Tuesday. We're good on Tuesday. Yeah.
We are good on Tuesday. Yes. Okay. So let's stop here.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.